Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thanks for everyone joining us for our fourth and final in our series. Welcome to the Datasite MCP for Blueflame webinar. I'm joined here by Raj Bakhru and Alice Esmerian. We're going to walk you through several different components of Blueflame AI Assistant within Diligence, and we're super excited to have you here. My name is Doug Cullen. I'm Chief Strategy Officer here at Datasite, as well as Head of Corporate Development, as well as Head of Partnerships. But here today, we're going to talk with you a little bit about how Datasite and Blueflame AI work together to bring governed AI workflows directly into deal execution. Our web series has been really focused on the transformations that are available now with AI technology and really changing how deals get done. And as we focused a lot on previous webinars, we're going to dive right into the Blueflame experience, as well as showcase Blueflame AI Assistant in the Diligence application itself. So before we get to those exciting things, I just have a few housekeeping items that I want to cover. Okay, the first of all is we want to hear from you. So you're going to see and ask questions on the panel. Please ask questions throughout the webinar, and we will do our best to get to those questions after the fact. If we don't get to them, we'll still follow up via some FAQs just to make sure that we address the most important topics. We also are going to put together a survey, so we want to make sure that you respond to that. You'll find additional resources in the console. This has some of the FAQs from previous sessions, as well as information about some of the things that you're going to be seeing here on the webinar today. And of course, we are recording this and it will be available on demand. And then, you know, what webinar would be here without a good legal disclaimer. So all the opinions expressed are our own and not those of Datasite or Blueflame. So welcome here, joining us here. Just wanted to do some quick introductions again. We've got Alice Esmerian, Product Strategist at Blueflame. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how long you've been at Blueflame, what you do previously?
Sure. So thanks for having us here today. I'm in the product strategy team at Blueflame. I joined 6 months ago, so it's been definitely an exciting time with no rest. My background is in investment banking and private equity, where I spent almost 8 years. So very exciting to helping our bankers and private equity people just benefiting from new AI products in their workflows.
Awesome. And Raj Bakhru, co-founder of Blueflame. Can you give us a little bit of background about Blueflame and maybe what some of the things you did before founding the company?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Doug. Hi, everyone. Raj Bakhru, co-founder, general manager here. My background's actually on the tech side of things. Started my career at Goldman, was later at Highbridge Capital, Kepos Capital. Started a security firm that we sold to a compliance firm. Eventually ended up running M&A and corporate strategy as the chief strategy officer of that company. That was a PE-backed company under 3 different private equity owners. Saw a lot of the pains of the manual workflows that we had in acquiring, dozens of firms. We launched Blueflame because of that. We saw, there was a huge opportunity for where AI could step in and make lives a lot better for folks in the industry. We knew AI was going to be transformative, and here we are today.
Awesome. Well, we want to definitely get into showcasing some of the capabilities. We have a lot to unpack on what's going on across deal making. AI is becoming central to how deal teams think, operate. Teams are increasingly wanting these AI flows, but some of these things are not super intuitive out of the box. So I think we want to showcase that. And then, of course, as we think about it from a deal-making perspective and an overall strategy perspective, governance, security, and auditability are really critical to everything that we do to ensure that that sort of trusted environment of Datasite is extended into all these different workflows. Would love from your perspective, Raj, what do you think is getting really excited about some of the things that are impacting deal execution in AI?
There's so many things that you can do with the tool in executing either a build of your data rooms, a launch of a process, all of the workflows that happen through the process, answering questions that are coming in. And then on the flip side, if you're a buyer, dealing with the data room and just working against it, asking the tough questions, running through your analyses and your workflows, whether that be customer retention data or HR analysis. All of that data obviously sits in the data room. It's unstructured data. And the AI has gotten really good at being able to parse through that data and address and find things for you that you might not be able to find on your own even, or it would have taken you hours and hours to find. And we're going to demo some of that today. Alice is going to show us some of those workflows on both the buy side and the sell side.
Yeah, and we got to know each other about a year ago, met the team at DealMax, and struck up a great conversation. And ultimately, we bought Blueflame last year. I think we closed in July or something. So it's pretty amazing some of the things that we've brought to bear already. From our perspective, I really met the team, saw some of the things that you were doing, and I was blown away. We, of course, had our own organic set of capabilities that we've been bringing into the Datasite platform for like 6 or 7 years across the AI landscape. But I was really wowed by some of the buy-side workflows that Blueflame was bringing to bear, and really kind of had this vision of, hey, imagine if we could take some of those capabilities and bring them into a native Datasite experience. Like, this is really what we believe deal makers wanted: natural language querying across large data sets. So from our standpoint, it just felt super comfortable and very natural. You were a co-founder, right? You weren't expected to necessarily get your door knocked on from Doug saying, hey, man, I really want to buy your company. How did you approach it from your perspective?
We knew, obviously, Datasite being the biggest and best and most credible data room out there. We had used it in prior lives. And we knew that we wanted to be embedded with that content. It's where all of the really interesting stuff in a deal lives. We knew our clients wanted that. They wanted to be able to access that data. We knew the only way to do that really well was if we were really tightly coupled together, being able to replicate the permissions and the security that live within Datasite, all the way down to the details. What gets watermarked, what's allowed to be downloaded. There's a lot of intricacy in the security and the permissions of a data room, and there was really no way to bridge that gap unless we were really tightly coupled together. We knew that the value would be tremendous, so we figured out a way to make it happen, and I'm glad we did. It's been a fun year building together.
Yeah. It's been absolutely awesome. So I guess the fun question that we get to showcase today is, what can AI actually do within this secure data room environment? And I think before we go into that, I think it's important to just set some context about what's going on within this, because we've got a few different layers. You've got this sort of Blueflame AI assistant, which we'll get into there. And then you've got this sort of MCP. Can you just give us a little bit of a 101, Raj, in terms of like what's working here? How are these things interoperating? How are some of these capabilities technologically possible?
Yeah, a big piece of what we've enabled with the data rooms is broad scale, deep, and high fidelity search. And what that means is when content comes into the data room, we really want to understand, what does this chart say? We need to understand what the legend, how the legend corresponds to the bars that are in that chart. We need to understand logos that are on pages, charts, graphs, logos. All of this stuff is really complex, but really important in understanding the context of a deal and in all of the highly visual materials that exist in a data room. So a lot of what we brought into Datasite was the high fidelity parsing, searching algorithms to work through that massive data. What that means is now we can leverage that search either directly in the data room or directly in the Blueflame platform against that data room. We're going to show you both experiences today. So within the Datasite data room, there is now a sidebar, sometimes we call it sidecar, where you have the ability to chat with the data room. And that chat is leveraging Blueflame behind the scenes to ask questions against the data room content. It's leveraging all of that high fidelity search that we built against the data room. So this is not just some of the agentic tools you see out there where it tries to search the file names and just read a few files to answer a question. This is actually looking through every bit of information that's in the data room to find nuggets of information that might be buried in files that you wouldn't otherwise find. So you have the ability to do that directly in the data room with the sidebar chat. You also have the ability to go into the Blueflame platform and do everything from create a data room to manage the data room to ask questions against the data room. And there's a number of different ways you can leverage that on both the buy side and the sell side that we'll demo today.
And then can we just, because we've been processing content for a long time at Datasite, and one of the things that I was really marveled with was this sort of next level processing and extraction capabilities that Blueflame, helped bring into our environment. How is Blueflame able to go into things like charts and graphs and pictures and org charts and really make that information come to life?
Yeah, we're leveraging actually vision models against a lot of that content to pull out, all of the details that live within that content. Say over the past 2 years, AI models have gotten much better at being able to read that content. But there are still cases where we have to optimize. Certain models do better against bar charts, and certain ones do better against pie charts, and so on. So it is very intricate data science work that happens behind the scenes to enable all of this. The result for someone who's interacting with the platform is when you ask your questions against the platform, it is showing you all of the places it's finding relevant search results, but then it's going ahead and answering it based off all of those questions. What we've seen happen over the course of the past 6 to 12 months is that the quality of those answers has become extremely rich, extremely high confidence, and just frankly really good at finding the right answers by leveraging a combination of agentic search and this high quality semantic search.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that. I think now let's just get into it. I'd love to sort of showcase in a diligence project. I think Alice is going to share her screen here. Why don't we just dive right in? And if you don't mind, kind of walk us through what you can expect now as a diligence user, and you have this availability of the Blueflame AI assistant in the diligence project.
Yeah, so we're going to cover a few workflows here. There are obviously many more that can be done. Feel free to drop in the question any workflow suggestions or workflow questions you have. But just to get started, here on my screen, everyone will recognize the Datasite environment. In case you haven't enabled Blueflame AI within your data room yet, you can simply do that by clicking this button at the top right here. And when you do that, you'll be able to open more information, and if needed, get in touch with your Datasite rep so that they can help you add Datasite AI to your VDR. If you created a new project, you'll automatically have the option to have that in. So now moving on to how it looks like once it's enabled, I want to start to showing you how you can leverage that to make sure that when you start your VDR, you have all your content organized and cleaned the right way. So here I simply ask the Blueflame AI agent, can you help me just run through my index, the folder names, the document names? I want it to be very clean so that when I let buyers into my data room, everything seems very neat and they have an amazing first impression. So here, the model has the ability to look at the existing names, but also the real content behind every document to inform how it should actually be labeled. And so that really helps me get really good feedback around, well, here you're not necessarily using the right date because the date of the document is actually different, or you're not using standard naming convention for all your contracts, or the date looks different. So it comes back with many different levels of feedback for me that are very helpful into quickly pointing out the issues. Whereas as a banker, it's typically a process that you would do manually, scrubbing everything. And so that's time consuming. And now you really have this level of feedback from a single prompt, which is pretty amazing. Another workflow that I really like, we've built this risk audit capability with the help of Blueflame and Datasite working jointly. And so here I'm just asking the model to look at the potential to create a risk report, where I know that as a banker, you're typically going to be heads down into your deal. And there are some oversight that may happen where buyers are actually going to be very focused on, and you did not necessarily prepare the sufficient level of defense. So here you really get this kind of third pair of eyes, like extra person taking a look at the entire content of your document, screening every single document that you might have shoved in there without actually reading every single line. And so it's going to give you a risk snapshot for both strategic and financial buyer if you want to. And it's going to look at very different aspects of your deal. It's going to almost criticize everything it can regarding EBITDA add back, for example, change of control clauses that have different type of risk around them, customer concentration for different verticals. So it's really going to rerun a lot of the analysis and data available so that you can come prepared, get your defense where it's needed, and then just open your VDR. And so here, although it might look like a lot of content, you can just then get that into a simple table with risk, buyer type, defense, and then output that into a copy and paste that into an email. So I think that's a lot of work that is being done very quickly, thanks to Blueflame AI being able to just grab around all your content and retrieve information from it.
And Raj, just from your, like, how is this able to do such a high quality job looking at all of this content? I mean, we have a very large corpus of information potentially here as well as across Datasite. And I always feel that like Blueflame has this innate ability to really understand things from a deal maker perspective. And I don't think that's accidental. It feels like it's been kind of by design.
Yeah, that's always been what we've been going after. The vision's always been, how can we build for the prompt first deal maker? So someone who wants to come into the platform naturally, and that's where they go first to get their work done. What you saw Alice do here, obviously could save you hours of time. And you didn't need to custom create a prompt, a really difficult prompt to get to that. I chuckled briefly. Alice said thank you to the agent and then had her prompt there, very natural language. It's able to just ascertain really well what the user is going for, what the investment professional or the deal maker is going for, because we've designed it to do exactly that. What we've seen happen over the course of the past 6 to 12 months is that the agent themselves, the agent harnesses, have become tenacious, is what we like to call it, in the way that they go about searching for information. That last example Alice showed you, there was a lot of information that it dug through to generate that table of potential issues. That's exactly what you wanted to do. It might have worked. I don't know how long that prompt took. It might have been a few minutes of work to go do all of that, but that's exactly what you want. You wanted to spend a lot of time working through all of the information. The agent harnesses have become really good, and we've designed this agent harness to be really good at reading through the VDR and understanding all the content and finding all those potential issues really well, just off a natural language query.
And it's effectively, I'm asking almost a pretty basic question, but underneath that, it's like it's firing off, dozens of additional questions in order to orient its way through the data room, find the answer, and pull it out. I love that sort of resilience that it must have in the models themselves.
Yeah, from a technical perspective, it's leveraging sub-agents. It can kick off dozens of sub-agents in parallel to read through content, to ask multiple questions at a time, to aggregate the tables of information. Again, tenacious, resilient. It will always work really hard to find the right answer for you.
And I think what's great on top of that is that this is all done within your Datasite instance, so you don't need to drop any document outside of Datasite. Everything remains safely stored within Datasite. And so that additional level, I think, is very important.
Yeah, I mean, we really have taken a lot of time thinking about the guardrails. We are the trusted place where deals are made, right? And so we wanted the ability to be able to take advantage of these capabilities, but in a super kind of guardrailed environment. Can you talk a little bit more about that, Raj? I mean, how difficult is that? What would be some other approaches if you wanted to take things out of the data room? Obviously, that would create a bunch of risk and exposure points. I mean, really doing this within the four walls of Datasite is a pretty important thing for our deal makers out around the world.
Yeah, and it has a lot of value, right? The download, upload process itself is clunky. It's also error prone, right? Sometimes you just have old copies of information. You haven't brought in the latest copy. You start asking questions. You realize that you got bad data. You ask stupid questions because you were working off wrong data. This is all just directly built in. It's native. It's fast. You can just directly go ask questions against it. The permissions obviously are really important. So that was baked in from the get-go. No one is getting access to anything that they don't otherwise have access to. The agent is only working through what you have the ability to see and actually have the ability to download. Watermarks are preserved. We provide even, I think about it as a guardrail, citations, right? The ability to understand where is this specific figure, this data point coming from, and being able to go back to that source document to verify as you need to, or to call it out in any of your follow-ups. So we think the guardrails obviously were paramount. That's table stakes. We had to make sure that it was getting that perfect. And then obviously on top of that, we wanted to build a lot of the value add functionality.
That makes a ton of sense. And it's just so powerful to have these capabilities in the platform itself. This is kind of what I always felt, search should be, right? And the technology just never was there to allow for this type of interrogation, natural language querying, and ultimately like getting these incredible answers right within the Datasite data room.
Yeah, and it's not easy. I will say, even with the download and upload into any of the LLM tools that are out there, you're not going to get the same level of tenacity with the agent or the same level of high fidelity search through the charts and the graphs and the logos. So replicating a lot of what Alice just did through the core LLM tools that are out there is actually not necessarily doable. You'll hit token limits, you'll hit a number of other issues in terms of fidelity of content that's coming in and the ability to search through it.
Yeah, because if it's just the LLM, they're limited to the context window that they have. And with the Blueflame kind of agent experience, you're really not limited. You're not bound by those traditional constraints. You're really able to look at 50, 100, 200, 500,000 pages worth of information in a data room.
Exactly. If you were to leverage some of the project's tools that are out there, there are limits on the number of files you can have in there, the size of those files. It doesn't directly index all of those files. So we can obviously work against much larger data rooms or complex data rooms much better.
Awesome. So I think we're going to shift gears a little bit and maybe showcase the Blueflame platform itself, because this is part of the connectivity here. Is you've seen the Blueflame agent sitting within Datasite, right? The AI assistant. And now we have this other incredible experience in the Blueflame platform itself, which is leveraging the MCP capability. But it's awesome to see what other customers, if you've invested in Blueflame and you have it as an enterprise platform, which we recommend for everyone, of course, you even get a more enriched experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've always had this connectivity into Datasite, where our clients were able to query Datasite content from their Blueflame instance. Now, the addition that we're releasing with this MCP connection into Blueflame is the opportunity to push content into Datasite. So here, the example we're seeing on the screen, I'm starting fresh and just want to start a new project without ever leaving Blueflame. So I'm going to ask Blueflame, can you help me set up a new Datasite project? And it knows that it's going to need a bit of context to help me as best as it can. And so it's immediately going to ask me, what's the industry of your deal? What type of deal is it? The size? Where is it going to be hosted? Which is obviously very important for our customers. And so just by providing this high level of context, it automatically returns a sell-side data room index that is scattered to my particular deal, because as you can see here, it really came back up with some IT-specific sections and things that you'd expect to see in an IT services data room. So that is great, and I can push it to Datasite, but I want to take advantage of the fact that all my Datasite data rooms are actually flowing into Blueflame, and so I push it a little and say, well, actually, can you look at this other deal where I really liked our index and inform from that what should be the final index for that new Pegasus deal, which the model does immediately. It looks at everything into that other VDR, comes back with a plan, and then once we kind of iterate together, finalize with a very detailed index that has all my main section, the subfolders and everything, prepared from a single push of a button to be accessible, and then also provides a link so that I can open my Pegasus sell-side data room within Datasite just to see that it actually did create all of that, which is pretty insane. Like, as a banker, it would take a lot of time to either move a clunky Excel spreadsheet into the Datasite to have your index populated. You obviously need to think about how you want to orchestrate here. Here, you can just leverage all your firm context from all your data rooms and build something very much tailored, and all that from a single natural language prompts.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast you can do things now.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just a matter of in and of itself, I think getting access to a data room via Blueflame for MCP and setting it up, wow, super powerful. And then you take it to a whole other level by doing a comparison against another deal, and you're able to dynamically operate in this Blueflame environment, taking advantage of your previous work, your best practices, and then ultimately easing that setup for the project itself and doing it in I don't know, minutes, as opposed to probably would have taken you days back in the day.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing that is quite time consuming when it comes to setting up a data room is inviting parties. You're receiving names and email addresses into different spreadsheets, emails, everything's unstructured, and you need to manually push that into Datasite. Now, the way it works with the MCP is that you can drop a spreadsheet. The model's going to identify the role, the names, and the email addresses from the individuals. And here you can see on the screen, I pushed an email list. It identified the right people, created the roles, and then have the invitation ready to go to their inboxes. Obviously, it's then for me to go into Datasite and make sure that they have all the accesses and that I can very much like keep control of that. We're not pushing that into the end of the LLM quite yet because we feel that it's super important to make sure that the permissions are set up manually still at this point. But at least you can invite them and allocate each individual a role from a single prompt again. So that's very helpful. I'm also conscious that having been in the shoes of the bankers, you don't always receive a nice spreadsheet with everything into an organized way, and you receive several emails in the same day saying, hey, can you add Raj, can you add Doug, can you add... And so what I love with Blueflame is that since it's connected to your email system, you can actually pull the data from your emails, having it sit here, and then push it into Datasite without ever leaving Blueflame. So that's another way to really leverage the fact that all your systems are working jointly into Blueflame AI.
And even your CRM, right? I mean, one of the big value points for Blueflame is connectivity to all the kind of primary systems of record. So, you know, you could be a banker that has a CRM connected, you're connected via Office 365. Like, how is that working, Raj, to enable Blueflame itself to have access to all these critical business systems?
Because we're connected to all of those systems and we have proprietary integrations into all of the major CRMs and Office 365 and obviously Datasite and Grata, you have the ability to have the agent correlate data across them. So again, can pull information from one, push it to another. You can do some pretty cool things there of, who do I have in my CRM as potential buyers for this project who have not been, set up in Datasite yet. And you can reconcile lists across the two as well. Obviously, Office 365 comes with email and calendar access, and you can automate quite a number of things by leveraging the data room with the Office 365 integration. You could create your process letters, auto send out your process letters. You could point people to specific files in the data room with links. So many things that you could just do by pairing these systems together with the agent.
It's kind of how I think people have always wanted it to work, right? You just had to go to these different places to do the different things. And now you're able to almost sit in this beautiful environment and allowing the orchestration to kind of be at your fingertips.
Yeah, there was another webcast we had done where Alice created a whole sim through prompting, right? A 55-page sim created through prompting. And now you can upload that into your data room directly through the MCP connection.
Yeah, and I feel that another way to really benefit from this integration is around the process that comes when you prepare your data room as a banker. You work with your client to make sure that they're populating the right information and that you're going to have everything covered. And so here in the screen we're looking at, I attached a data request list or IRL where you're going to have all the requests you submitted to your clients. You never know if it's really like the process of tracking what's been uploaded, what information is there, not there. It changes for every single process, so it's quite manual. And here I just uploaded it. The agent's going to read through all the 241 items that I requested my client. It's going to crunch the entire data room to see what's in there or not and come back with a very detailed feedback. It's going to produce the material I requested to for me to run through these conclusions, which is the detailed DRL with annotations, sources, page numbers for each of the different information requests, as well as summary in a PowerPoint that I can share to my client and tell them, well, here is what I need from you. So both sets of documents are produced by Blueflame. You can see here the IRL tracker, as well as sorry, it's just loading for a little second, but the IRL tracker in Excel, as well as the PowerPoint. And then on top of that, what I'm asking Blueflame is that it should put it into an email that I can send to my clients so that I don't even need to move back, download the files, put them into Outlook or whatever apps you use, draft the email and send that out. It's already sitting into my draft folder and I can just push it to my clients and they can easily navigate where they need to prepare and submit more work. So that's really a great way for me to leverage AI and save time while keeping all the traceability, auditability of everything you're doing within Blueflame.
Yeah, an incredible value for the advisors and the clients, right? I mean, ultimately, having the bank or other trusted advisor run a process for you, part of the difficulty, you ran strategy as well, is you're trying to navigate who needs to get access to it, what files need to be provided. Of course, there are always going to be gaps, but being able to really focus on the missing pieces as opposed to all of the pieces is just crucial for customers and really allows you to have that optimal conversation, kind of trusted advisor to underlying corporation.
Yeah, definitely. And we've covered a lot of sell-side workflows today, but this is obviously something that is going to benefit our buy-side clients. We just released within Blueflame what we're calling Spaces, which is a way to, on top of getting access to your data room within Blueflame, create a space around it where you can put your SharePoint data, your any content really that is flowing around a particular deal or around a particular industry that you're focusing on, where you can work in this closed vault, invite team members where you want to collaborate with them, and leverage both the content of the data room as well as all the analysis that your team is working on. So here you can see it's my homepage of my project. I love the fact that I have an activities thread and I can track who's been doing what on that project. You can see here I've been working quite solo, but team members will see everything everyone is doing if they decide to share it. You can add people here, and you can see that then I have everything concentrated with my chats around that particular project, notes that I take, so that can be notes from a call one team member is having with a CEO, but then another team member is talking to an expert and another one to the CDD provider. So you can just share all of that and then query your data room content with this additional layer of context to really optimize your work around a deal.
Yeah, and just to take a step back, because I think this is so profound, and we've gotten a ton of questions around this, which is really, what we were covering on the Datasite side of things and with Blueflame AI Assistant was really highly oriented towards that sell side. And many of the things that Alice was showing there, again, that sell side advisors. We're jumping to the other side of the coin here. Because now you're really thinking about most of the interaction that happens around the deal is not necessarily on the sell side. It's really around the buy side and all the interesting parties. So as a Blueflame customer, yes, I get access to the data site, which is a super crucial part of it, but now I have my own space to operate. We've got this project and I could add so many different contextual components. I can invite my team members, I can invite my advisors, I can invite experts from third parties, et cetera, into this space, and I'm tracking it, really kind of working through the diligence from my point of view, which I think is just going to transform how buy-side deals are done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that buy-side people love the data room space, but they also love having their things working in their own instance. They're creating a lot of analysis on top of the data room. They might want to leverage previous deal material as well to inform the decision they're making and the risk they're identifying. And so here it's really the opportunity to work side by side. You open a note on one side, you open a chat on another one, or a document, and everyone works with this closed context that is empowered by being in this vault.
And I think what's really nice for the buy side is that it's a place to collaborate, right? The data room has historically been a place to share information. This is a place where I can go to my colleagues, work with my colleagues. As Alice has up here, you could take your call notes. Everyone on your team can see that same set of call notes, and that all feeds into the same context that's being used in the chats of this space. So everyone is working off the same set of information. You no longer have these little silos of knowing what's going on or digging around, SharePoint files or whatever it may be to find the internal context on a deal.
Right, because you may be taking this to IC, right? I mean, and I think that's one of the great use cases within Blueflame is, taking that, all of this context, all of this information to that next level to present to investment committee.
Exactly. And getting to that ready draft of information, Blueflame already has all of the context of this is how our firm likes to build PowerPoint decks. This is the branding guidance around what we do for Excel models and PowerPoint decks. So it just makes building that material so much faster and easier when it's already coming into the format and the style that you like.
So we're going to go to the next portion of this, or we're going immediately into some Q&A. All right. So I am going to read from the questions here. We probably don't have a time for everything here. But I think the most important question is, Alice, how do I get the Blueflame AI assistant on my Datasite project?
So any Datasite project, you'll always have this button that I showed at the beginning of the webinar. It's a Datasite AI on the top right of your screen. Once you click on it, you can get more information around exactly how it works, what it's able to do, but also activate it or get in touch with anyone at Datasite that will be very quickly able to help you and enable it. That's for existing project. And then when it comes to new project, this is something that you should immediately discuss with the person at Datasite helping you setting up a new VDR.
And I think what's worth noting is that you don't need to be a Blueflame subscriber to leverage the Blueflame AI assistant within Datasite. That can be something that you do on a per VDR basis if you so desire. Lots of reasons to become a Blueflame subscriber, as we showed, but you don't need to be to leverage that.
Yeah, awesome. And then I guess, maybe the paranoid in me here, Raj, but how do we ensure that redacted and or permission to content data isn't accessed improperly?
So that's part of the trust of Datasite, right? You're using Datasite because Datasite puts top premium, make sure that that's always right, and that's part of why we paired together. We wanted to build tightly together to make sure that we're never showing information to folks who are not permissioned to that information. We're never allowing people to download things that can't be downloaded. We're always redacting information the same way. Translation still applies the same way. Watermarking still applies the same way that it always does. So we took all of it into account to make sure that we were putting out something that was safe and adhered to all of the expectations that everyone has of Datasite.
And this wasn't necessarily entirely new to Blueflame, right? Because we have to do the same thing from a Blueflame standpoint by respecting SharePoint permissions and content availability and visibility. Like this is almost kind of core DNA for Blueflame.
And a lot of our team come from cybersecurity backgrounds, privacy and compliance backgrounds, and there's a big piece of why we knew Blueflame. A big piece of what we knew we needed to deliver as part of Blueflame into this space, right? It's just the sensitivity of the content is extreme, right? As high as it gets, and we wanted to make sure that we were protecting that.
And then question here, which I think is super important, is around audit trail. Like, how do I know what has been asked? How do I know what's been presented? Like, we want to make sure that we maintain this sort of crucial set of information around the deal so that there's kind of no dark spots in the room, if you will.
Yep, and again, no different. We wanted to make sure that we were doing things consistently with how the data room was handling things historically. All of the queries are archived. We have the ability to surface that. All of the file accesses still go through the same auditing, and the audit trail still applies.
Yeah, so needless to say, kind of table stakes, right? We couldn't do this in any other way. We wanted to make sure that we extended all of that monumentally important kind of governance, compliance, auditability, just like everything that happens on Datasite, that is just paramount for deal success.
Exactly.
Okay, Alice, talk to me a little bit about some of the advantages for sell-side work streams who may or may not be a deal admin.
Well, it's true that today we've covered a lot of workflows that are focused on the person really setting up the data room, so the team that is going to be in place to do that. But there are a lot of sell-side individuals who are going to be added to a data room and do either focused work for VDD reports, or maybe other folks at the bank who are less involved into the day-to-day process, but still want to enter the data room and be able to understand what's happening. And so I feel that this ability to question the content with Q&A, understand where documents are, is there any information that you might have missed? Let's say you're a commercial due diligence provider, you're going to look at the commercial contracts, but there might as well be other piece of information in an IP folder that you might want to actually be aware of. So that's a very good way of orienting yourself and getting very quickly into a deep level of information for someone who's less into the building weeds of the data room.
Great context. And we covered this, but I think it's super important. So I'll read this question aloud, and maybe Raj, you and I can probably tag team this a bit. But what's Datasite MCP only versus when do you need Blueflame AI Assistant? And then is the assistant included in the Datasite license?
Yeah, so the assistant is that first experience that Alice showed today. Within the data room, there is a chat on the right side That's a Datasite AI assistant, the Blueflame AI assistant within Datasite. That is its own separate commercial terms on the VDR. There's an extra piece to the SOW, or you can upgrade, as Alice showed, to get access to that. Blueflame clients have access to that by default. It's enabled for them to ask questions there. That said, they also have the ability to ask questions directly in Blueflame, and it's the exact same tooling. Behind the scenes, it's all going to the same place and running the same queries. Oftentimes, you want to be within Blueflame itself because we have wider integration access. You have the ability to go out to your Office 365 and CRM and FactSet or CapIQ or what have you. So you can do a lot more across the ecosystem directly in Blueflame, but you have the ability to leverage it in either if you're a subscriber. You don't have to be a subscriber to get access to that Datasite sidebar chat that is the Blueflame AI assistant within Datasite.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you have and I think Alice covered this as well, but just to reiterate, on net new projects that you may be engaging Datasite with, it will be an option to be able to add this as a set of capabilities. And then if you actually have active projects, which we have tens of thousands active projects before this capability really was available, we can actually add it to those projects as well. So any active deal that you have, you can do so either directly within the app itself, or of course, you can always contact either a service professional or a person in the sales organization, and we can turn it on for you. Okay, we got one more question, and this I think is great as well. And maybe Raj, can you talk like what LLMs are being used to create this magic?
Yeah, great question. So that changes potentially all the time. As everyone knows, models are constantly leapfrogging each other. We leverage all of the best of breed models, open source models. We'll leverage whatever we need to leverage that can be secured the right way. And our data science team is constantly benchmarking models to understand who is doing the best at what, and that at what actually matters. Some will do better at certain types of questions or certain types of content, and we will get specific about what we point what to for particular circumstances. As we go out to certain integrations like CRMs or Office 365 in particular, we might be using different models for that than we leverage for asking a question against data room content or for running the agent harness itself. So I can't tell you the exact single LLM because there is no exact single LLM. It is multi-model by nature, and that is intentional. And the models that we're using for different things change all of the time.
And part of I think the benefit to the user is you don't really ever have to think about it, right?
It shouldn't be your job.
Question. It shouldn't be your side. We got plenty of people that benchmark the models, test the questions, figure out what's best at what types of questions. I'm asking one question, and really the Blueflame agent is kind of routing that, if you will, to a variety of different places to get the absolute best response possible.
Exactly. And that is more than a full-time job for a lot of people to figure out.
Yeah, we're testing the models, we're doing performance, we're doing benchmark all the time. It's a crucial thing, and we certainly take it super seriously here. Yep. Okay, well, I think for that, we'll have to wrap up. Thank you both for such an amazing thing. This shift is amazing. Things are happening so quickly. I love your notion of a prompt-first deal maker. I think this is just changing the way that deals are going to get done. We showed a lot of sell-side use cases. We showed the Blueflame AI assistant within the diligence project. Then we kind of jumped out to the enterprise Blueflame experience. Again, you really got that same type of admin flow, and we got a little peek into the future, I think, on what we believe buy-side diligence is going to look like. We've got this sort of MCP availability, the enabled content, and really all of this is coming together, I think, because our partnership, right? You can't do this type of groundbreaking innovation without being super connected across our strategic teams, across our technical teams. And I really believe like the best is yet to come.
Yeah, it's getting better every day. It's been exciting to watch, and it's been fun to build.
So thank you for all the people around the world that were able to join us today. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Alice. As a reminder, this is recorded. So take a look for that on-demand replay, and please forward this on to your friends and colleagues. We'll probably be back with future series, but this is kind of a wrap for our MCP, our Datasite MCP series. Once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you, my esteemed guests, and really enjoy and take advantage of this next level of deal making. We think the best is yet to come.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.